Yeah, welcome. I hope to get to know you as the new chairman of the Senate
Likewise.
Housing Transportation Committee. You just were appointed by the governor to head the agency, as I understand it, correct?
Right. Previously, I was heading the California Housing Finance Agency, so
right.
I moved over.
So I have a question of you on a personal way. What is the one thing that you most passionately would like to do in your tenure as our director in California? What would you like to accomplish?
Okay, I'm going to hedge a little bit here, but I'm
Well,
going to tell you,
me
other
straight.
than increasing resources for housing, which is a given.
I ask questions like that, by the way, so you'll find me that.
Okay. Other than
They're friendly, but they're direct.
Other than increasing resources for housing, my most passionate goal would be to make sure that all the housing entities that we've got and housing-related programs are working in conjunction with each other toward the goal of helping as many Californians as we can. We have huge resources in this state. It's a complex bureaucracy. We keep discovering housing-related functions in other areas that if they were working better together, we could be jamming. So that's what I'm most passionate about.
Okay, that's great. So getting to that, what role do you think your department can be for increasing affordable housing for the homeless, extremely low income, very low income renters? And do you have any ideas about, we have one population of homeless that never is addressed with the housing issues. That's the homeless youth that we have in our state. How would you address those particular issues?
Well, we had a year-long chronic homelessness policy academy where we got some technical assistance from the feds. And during that, there were 3 or 4 key components that came out that we are now focused on.
We just had to count their
We
counting.
had it was more than a count. It was sort of how do you garner resources and work those resources together to get the people who need that assistance the most rapidly. So the rapid rehousing model, which is getting people into a stable environment as quickly as possible, is a really big deal. And that is a matter of the state providing technical assistance and other resources in order for the local jurisdictions to coordinate their efforts accordingly. Another one is, although permanent supportive housing, the permanent supportive housing supply has increased, it's a matter of using that supply. Obviously, we need more, but using that supply so the people that need help the most and perhaps are the most risky get that help, and making sure that with the Affordable Health Care Act and other changes going on in Medi-Cal and Medicare, that we coordinate those resources together to get people the assistance they need to change their lives around.
Yeah, we got to get them off the streets, and I think if you actually looked at the cost to the state and local governments, it's astounding. Much more than it would take to just provide them with a simple place to live.
No, that has been.
I think it's astounding how much money we have people in California, hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them, that cost in services over $1 million a year. Okay, and we all know it. The supervisors have dealt with this in their communities, like I did when I was a supervisor for 12 years. These people need to be housed, and if we can house these people, we could save a lot of money if you're conservative, and for everybody, it's a moral obligation.
I agree.
So we have to. That should be a priority for the department.
Right, and as you said, that's been demonstrated repeatedly regarding how you respond to the chronic homeless with regard to the assistance that they can get right away to stabilize their lives so they don't keep going to emergency rooms or becoming a public safety
Now,
problem.
One of the reasons why I didn't object to reducing or limiting redevelopment was that they never addressed this issue, even though they're responsible for eliminating blight and so forth. And of course, I was involved in the largest redevelopment district for some time in the whole state, city of San Jose. So what role, if any, can we look for permanent source of affordable housing, given that we dissolved redevelopment agencies, and we have the recent cap and trade allocation towards sustainable communities with a strategic growth council, and what role do you think we can play in increasing the supply of affordable housing that you poignantly showed us today?
Well, obviously a coordination of efforts among the state housing finance entities to make sure that we do use available resources as efficiently as we can. But with a couple of fund sources on the horizon, the cap and trade is a possibility, but that will only affect a key area. So we have a lot of other needs. We're looking at, we have federal funding coming in, which could be focused more on rural housing needs, but it's a big problem. We're currently in the midst of grappling with that. Certainly we need more funding in order to meet those demands, but it's how we do it and sort of how to make long-term investments so we know that we can sustain that over time.
When like cities left money on the table and didn't spend it for housing and then spent it for housing that wasn't for, and they passed by the opportunity to spend redevelopment money for homeless and other kinds of truly needy, it particularly appalled me as a guy that spent 26 years in local government to see that in other areas of the state. And I think that it caused me to believe that we need to change the whole concept of redevelopment. However, I think that if we had, instead of redevelopment, housing departments that were funded by some source that's ongoing, that would have been preferable, a way of solving the housing problem that could be targeted directly to the housing issue and deal with these complicated issues that we're all facing. My district has 7,200. I think we have the second largest homeless population, and it's all in my district, 7,200 people. So, I wanted to address Senator Bates more on a personal matter. When I was a young kid in San Jose growing up, I have 9 brothers and sisters. A lot of people don't know that, but we've come from a big family. We have 12 in the family. And when I was 14, Senator Bates, our house burned down. We lost our house, and we were homeless. So we went through this tragedy in our family because of a fire, and we had 12 people. So that was a lot of people in a house. So this whole issue of turned out that there was a problem in the wiring of the new oven that my parents bought. Okay, which caused the fire, and took us quite a while to recover from that. So this particular issue of building code safety and helping families that need housing at the same time we want to have them live in a safe place is very important. I think we have to continue that dialogue, and I'm especially from a more of a personal interest, making sure that all families don't have to go through what our family went through. And I think that's very, I don't take that issue lightly. I think it's a very important issue. So we want to involve the fire departments and the inspectors and kind of the building code people to come up with a way that we can proactively reduce the situation that the senator was raising. So I just want to say that, Senator, because I have a personal family history of that particular issue. And, we went to church, we cried, we prayed. 18 months, we all lived in different places, but we kept our family together, and it was a very traumatic experience for us. So thank you for raising that.
Thank you very much, Senator, for sharing your compelling story. Let's next go to Assemblymember Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Director, for the presentation. Just a quick follow-up to both Senator Bell's question as well as Assemblymember Chu. Like the Assemblyman, my district, San Mateo County, is in a state of crisis when it comes to affordability and housing. The loss of redevelopment has been problematic, to say the least. Just asking for your personal opinion, do you believe the loss of redevelopment was harmful to the production of affordable housing in the state of California? If you could amplify your comments on that. And also on the declining state resources, as has been mentioned, and as your slide illustrates, we've drawn down on these bonds. It's been almost a decade since we've had a statewide housing bond. Do you personally believe that it's time to do a statewide bond to help leverage some of these other sources? I know it's an effort of cobbling together a variety of sources, and we do need a permanent, stable source of funding. But just your opinions on the loss of RDA and its impact, and the need for another statewide housing bond.
Okay, well, first I'm going to check the temperature of this seat. Okay. So I think that redevelopment, at its best, created a consistent source of funding for affordable housing because of the 20% set aside. In my past life as a building and planning director in local jurisdictions, I realized the strength and opportunities that presented, particularly for soft costs, pre-development costs, and gap financing. That's two tools that we've really not had since redevelopment was eliminated. So it played an important role. My job in the last couple of years has been, how can we figure it out differently, because that's gone. And in terms of a permanent or dedicated source, in terms of it, long-range investments and the ability to garner other private investment and capital into the segments of the housing market that need it the most, that could be, it could be really great. It's a matter of how we choose to focus, and obviously what we can do. Bond measures are, they're great when we've got the money, but then there's this ebb, and we're stuck with a sort of lower period. I, for one, believe that a more consistent source of funding would be better. And with this governor in his prudent financial ways, I'm not sure that another bond measure is on the horizon.
Assemblymember Lopez, go ahead.
Morning.
I knew in this, but I'm passionate with housing, and my district is a really high need, and especially for the senior population. I would like to know if you have anything in place for that.
For seniors?
Yes.
We have historically had federal money that has served seniors, and we have a variety of focuses where senior affordable housing is built in projects throughout California, but no specific senior serving only programs right now. But certainly a big affordability gap exists for many seniors who are on fixed incomes, and it is a certain type of affordable housing that has been funded with our multiple family housing programs.
Okay. Well, I hope I can look into more in details and maybe present something in that area.
Sure, I would be glad to follow up with you.
Thank you so much.
Senator Bates.
Quick question, it won't warm your seat any more than currently.
Okay.
It's regarding the housing initiatives, and the California Affordable Housing Cost Study. It's focusing on affordable rental housing. Two questions on that. Do we have a timeline when we'll have the data from that study, which will be, I think, fundamental as we approach solutions? If we can accomplish that this year, that's fantastic. The second item I'd like you to address is home ownership is key in terms of people being able to move up the socioeconomic scale, and you're not including home ownership in this, or are you, or should you? So
In the cost study?
yeah.
Oh,
Because it just says rental housing, and
Right. So first, the housing cost study is available. It was published last fall and is on our websites. I certainly can provide you the link. It was very interesting. And just as an aside, we took 400 or so projects and we looked at them with varying lenses and did a model of what the key components were about. Unfortunately, we wanted private market data to sort of compare, and we weren't able to get enough private market data, but it stands alone, and it's a pretty good read, early in the day, though.
Okay.
And then in terms of home ownership, we didn't do that, but certainly in my conversations with many developers in the last few years, the costs of construction are a big factor in terms of the supply. And, perhaps we could follow up with you on those. But we focused on affordable rental housing because most of our programs focus on that aspect.
Well, I think a more global approach to the affordability is critical. I live in a county where young people 10 years ago could buy a home, a starter home, and that's barely available these days. So that's something I would like us to take a look at. And in terms of the homeless, I think it would be very important in terms of seeking solutions as we look at that in the difference of those who are homeless because of the economy and those who are homeless because they have serious behavioral problems. Combining the two and looking at the numbers, I think, tends to confuse us in terms of seeking solutions. One, I think, is absolutely, it's a mandate for more social services to address those folks who've got these addiction problems and all the behavioral problems that go along with that. But for people who've really been harmed through the economy, that is our other mandate, our other challenge. And we need to focus on that because the affordability issue really has a lot to do with not so much the revenue stream that might be available, but certainly the cost for a developer to move in that direction, whether it's multifamily or it is rental housing, or it is home ownership, single family. So those will be the things that I'm looking at in any resource. Since I'm not new from the county where we were dealing with the impact versus, how to solve the problem. It would be very helpful if you could provide me and my staff some more in-depth on those basic issues that
I would be happy to, and we do have some data because there's an annual homelessness count.
Yeah.
So we do have certain categories. I would be glad to follow up with you.
I participated in the homeless count, and I don't remember us getting the data back that really distinguished interviews with those people. So if we have that would be important because
Okay.
I'm also working on this other side of the issue. As a social worker, it's very troubling. I was in the profession 30 years ago, and we have not made a lot of progress in alleviating poverty, moving people to independence, and solving some of these horrible behavioral problems that hurt our children. They remain trapped in the system. If they're born into it, getting them out of it, that should be our challenge. And so I want us to start looking at causative factors in a more strategic way.
Agreed, and I would be glad to follow up with you, and also that there is a definition of chronic homelessness which is distinguished from what we call temporary homelessness. So we do have some data and analysis
I'd like
on
those.
that.
That would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
I do have a couple of follow-up questions, if I may. I think earlier you mentioned about the Federal Housing Trust Fund.
Yeah.
How much, in terms of dollars, can we expect to get from that trust fund?
The estimates are all over the place at this point, but it was mandated as part of some federal laws a few years ago to respond to the housing recession and the housing crisis at the time. It is basically a percentage. The formula is a percentage of sales or mortgage assistance through the Fannie and Freddie, the mortgage, the government-sponsored entities, as we call them, GSEs. So the conservative estimate the first year is between $200 and $300 million. But I've seen estimates greater than that. And I can certainly keep the committee informed as it becomes more real, but it's not quite real yet.
I got you. It's so between 200 and 300 million. Got it. Second question, in light of the various agencies at the state level, would it be beneficial to create a position either at the cabinet level or otherwise to basically coordinate all the efforts just to address the housing situation?
In an ideal world, a leadership position that would coordinate the various housing entities would likely be an advantage in a state this large. Yes.
And finally, I think last year your department started working with the Department of Finance on assessing the inventory from the assets from the RDAs. What is the status on that project?
Well, we were able to get the data from DOF, and then we had to do a fair amount of work in order to get that data consistent. And we have, and we're working on it right now to get some basic information out of that data. When it's done, I will be glad to share it with you.
Thank you much. I want to, if there are no further questions, I want to thank the presenter, Ms. Capio, for your presentation.
My pleasure.
And I want to thank the members also for your questions. We do plan to have a follow-up informational hearing. The focus is on affordable housing and financing in general and specifically. So, I welcome all of your suggestion and input as well. So with that, you're welcome to stay at the desk if you like. And at this time, I'd like to invite the next speaker panelist to come on up. And next panelist is Tia Boatman Patterson, who is the Executive Director of the California Housing and Finance Agency, CalHFA. Good morning, Ms. Patterson.
Good morning.
And welcome. So anytime you're ready, you may proceed.
Okay. And how does this little clicker work?
You want me to do it?
Sure. My partner in crime here. Good morning, committee. My name is Tia Boatman Patterson. I'm the Executive Director with the California Housing Finance Agency, and thanks to Claudia for her overview of HCD and Assemblymember Chow and Senator Bell for their opening remarks. I'd like to provide the agency overview for the California Housing Finance Agency, and I've been in this position now for about 6 months, and my predecessor, Claudia Capio, did a phenomenal job in getting things in order when I got there. So CalHFA has a long history of supporting renters and home buyers. We were formed in 1975 and were signed into law by our current governor. We finance and administer programs that create safe, decent, affordable housing opportunities for low and moderate income Californians. And we do this through financing progressive housing solution. Although our historical business model has been to issue tax-free mortgage revenue bonds to fund loans, the financial crisis has limited that tool as a financing tool. And we've had to use new financing tools, and I'll be getting into some of those tools that we've used a little later in the presentation. But our emphasis has been to preserve on low-risk lending while still enabling us to compete in the market. We are completely self-supporting, and our revenue and expenses are independent of the state's general fund. We currently have, as you can see, about $4.6 billion in assets and $3.3 billion in outstanding bonds. We have funded and administered dozens of programs through our existence, adapting to the change in market conditions and the evolving housing needs of California. And here are a few of our highlights of what we've worked on. We have funded and administered. We have funded $19.6 billion in mortgages for 153,000 first-time home buyers. We retained 15,000 active first mortgages and 35,000 active down payment assistant loans. We've created 37,000 rental housing units for individuals and families. We've lent $192 million to local agencies for affordable housing. We've provided $3.1 million in liquidity for Habitat for Humanity. We monitor currently 475 multifamily properties to maintain their affordability. And I'd like to note a correction in the last bullet. We've actually provided $351 million, not $35.1 million, in Mental Health Service Act housing program funds. That's what the MHSA stands for, mental health. And I'll get into a little bit more details into that program a little later on as well. Currently, housing is a huge driver in California's economic well-being, and the financial crisis has had an especially big impact on our housing sector. It has had a big impact on CalHFA as well, After some of our work by our staff, especially our financing division, we're now confident that we are on sound financial footing, as you can see from our current ratings. It gives us means to work on expanding our business by expanding access to capital and increasing our capacity for lending, developing new products to meet the needs of today's borrowers, and taking advantage of the improving economic conditions. We welcome the recent vote of confidence from our major rating agencies, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, which recently affirmed our positive credit ratings. On our single-family side, we have actually two revenue-generating divisions, our multifamily side and our single-family side. I know the Senator, Assemblywoman asked earlier about homeownership programs, and we administer several homeownership programs on our side of the house. But on our single-family side, our single-family division works with dozens of private lenders, from boutique lenders like Academy of Mortgage to multinational firms like Wells Fargo, to finance mortgage loans to low and moderate income Californians. CalHFA's single-family lending has been increasing and is now at levels that, if continued, will meet our goals of our 2014-2015 business plan. The down payment assistance programs to borrowers was recently increased by $6,500. This is on top of our normal down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. What we were finding is that mortgage insurance and the amount of mortgage insurance on the front end was keeping a lot of home buyers out of the market. So we've increased that assistance, and we've seen an increase in our in the taking advantage of our products. This has allowed more borrowers to enter into the home ownership with an affordable monthly payment. We've also made some underwriting changes and added features to our single-family loan offerings to better meet the needs of California mortgage marketplace. Additionally, the development of our lender network has been a vital part of our increasing lending volume. On our single-family side, CalHFA is not a direct lender, and so what we do is we work with partners in our lending community, and they provide those tools, and then we package those loans. We have statewide partners with lenders, local housing agencies, nonprofit, builders, developers, and others to make sure our message gets out to the largest number of people. Currently, on our home ownership side, about 50% of our home ownership goes to help Latino Californians. And so we're very happy that we're helping low and income minority communities with our products. In addition to our first mortgage loans, we also fund several forms of down payment assistance, a program specifically to help teachers who work in high-priority schools, a mortgage credit certificate, and energy-efficient loan program to help homebuyers improve their home energy usage. On our multifamily side, the other revenue-generating division of CalHFA, our primary goal is this. The stock of existing affordable multifamily housing in California has continued to age. So our programs provide funding to acquire, rehabilitate, and preserve affordable multifamily housing developments in California. Once a project development has received CalHFA financing, our asset management division monitors the project to ensure it stays compliant with regards to financing, physical condition, and occupancy. And this is one of the areas that we have looked to our sister agency where we would like to have more collaboration when we're looking at that affordable housing stock and the preservation in our portfolio and their portfolio. And most recently, we're working collaboratively to look at that data for that preservation of housing assets on the redevelopment side. We're currently running 4 low programs in our multifamily umbrella. The Preservation Loan Program provides acquisition, rehabilitation, and permanent financing. To extend the affordability of our existing portfolio, we are focused on obtaining the data to develop a plan of action to rehabilitate and recapitalize those projects. We also have a conduit issuer program that helps both nonprofit and for-profit developers. And this program, which we've just revamped, and we're revamping it as I sit here now, we put some processes in this so that we can have an opportunity to partner with our local governments to access tax-exempt bonds for the financing of family and senior affordable housing. Since July 1st, 2014, CalHFA has served as a conduit bond issuer for 4 loans totaling about $59 million. The issuance of fees brings in a small fee for our operating costs. We also administer a Section 8. We are the Section 8 contract administrator, where we administer Section 8 subsidy funds for the Federal Department of Housing and Community Development. This is for multifamily projects, and we provide the compliance monitoring and review of this. This program is a federal program that brings in about $58 million a year and federal money to provide housing assistance payment, and we provide the contracting administering for that. It serves about 6,000 rental units, so probably close to about 15,000 individuals and families are served by that funding. Finally, we are a part of the 811 Project Rental Assistance Demonstration Project, and this is a partnership between CalHFA, my sister agency, Housing and Community Development, and the Department of Health. They've changed their names. Healthcare Services, in which we are looking at providing that rental subsidy and that operating subsidy along with permanent supportive housing for folks that are currently in nursing homes to reduce some of those services that Assemblyman Senator Bell mentioned earlier. How do we start coordinating it? So this is a pilot project that the federal government, that we are administering to be able to provide that operating and that supportive services. We also expect multifamily lending to be bolstered by our new program that the U.S. Treasury is introducing with the purchase of FHA risk share loan participation at rates that are comparable to multifamily Ginnie Mae securities. The terms of the U.S. Treasury-backed program are expected to be released by the federal government during the first quarter of 2015 and should bring CalHFA's lending rates in line with market rates. The remaining challenge will be using CalHFA's other structural advantages to increase our multifamily lending activities. And now I want to get into a little bit about the Mental Health Service Act housing program. You may have all recently seen the Little Hoover Commission report that came out a couple of weeks ago. In that report, there wasn't a real mention of the housing program of that larger pot of money. But initially, the Mental Health Service Act program was the housing portion of the Mental Health Service Act housing program was created in 2007 by an executive order. That was S0706. And this program was a part of Proposition 63, the Mental Health Services Act. And it provides financing to develop permanent supportive housing for individuals with mental illness and their families who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. The original allocation transferred $400 million to CalHFA, in which we have dispersed approximately $351 million to 49 of the 58 counties in California. This $351 million has been leveraged into $2.9 billion in funding for 157 projects totaling more than 9,500 units of affordable housing. Originally, when they made this allocation, the goal was to help leverage or create 10,000 units of affordable housing. And as you can see, we're just about 500 units short of meeting that goal. And we have just about 50 million left in the pipeline to disperse for that. I'm missing my last page. Pardon the pause, I'm missing the last page of my... Okay. Now we have additional federal resources. These are 2 additional programs that we are administering to help distribute money for these programs where we're not acting as the state's affordable housing bank. The first is our initiative is the administrator of the foreclosure counseling, partnering with the NeighborWorks America. CalHFA has received funds for this important initiative in all 8 rounds of funding. That was more than $21 million. These funds have helped more than 42,000 homeowners who were at risk of losing their homes to foreclosure. The second program is the Keep Your Home California program, which was allocated almost $2 billion in 2008 to help prevent foreclosure. The Keep Your Home California program gives assistance to, do we have another slide? Okay, here we go. That's okay. The Keep Your Home California program gives assistance to low and moderate income buyers. These home buyers can receive up to $100,000 in mortgage payment assistance once one of the limiting factors has been that servicers must opt into the program, though a number of servicers their participation has continued to increase. To date, we have 216 participating loan servicers. Our program was made up of, our historical program is made up of about 4 programs, and then the last program is the new program. But our by far our most successful program is under the Keep Your Home California is the Unemployment Assistance Program, which helps homeowners who are collecting unemployment benefits from the Department of Employment and the EDD, Employment Development Department. The program makes their mortgage payments up to $3,000 per month for 18 months. This program has helped more than 35,000 homeowners. Second is the Mortgage Reinstatement Program, which helps homeowners whose hardship has ended but who have found themselves with their mortgage payments in arrears. We'll pay those arrearages, and we've helped more than 8,300 homeowners who have taken advantage of that program. The third program is our Principal Reduction Program, which is the program that can make the most difference, and we can make payments up to $100,000 per household. This can eliminate severe negative equity and has helped more than 5,000 homeowners achieve substantial reduction in their mortgage payments. The next program is our Transitions Assistance Program, which helps people who have exhausted their options and must leave their homes. So we've done everything we can, but in order to prevent an actual foreclosure, so they're going to either do a deed in lieu or they're going to do a short sale. And so this provides up to $5,000 to help those families moving and with their transition experience. And we've helped more than 800 families ease the pain of losing their home with that program. Our newest addition to the Keep Your Home program is the Reverse Mortgage Assistance Program, announced just this month. This will help financially distressed California homeowners who have FHA home equity conversion mortgage and grants up to $25,000 to help with property taxes and homeowners insurance while homeowners complete comprehensive counseling services to enable senior homeowners assess their overall budgetary health. What we found is that there were several seniors who had taken advantage of these reverse mortgages but were unaware that they still had to pay property taxes, insurance, or homeowner insurance, and they were in jeopardy of losing their homes. And so we're very proud about this program, and we've allocated about $25 million of our funding for this program. To date, the funds dispersed. Next slide. Do we have another slide?
Isn't
Is that it?
It's funds dispersed.
Okay, yes, she's on the right side. I'm just not seeing right. The Keep Your Home California program has been a great success so far, with close to $1 billion going and almost 50,000 qualified families helped. Although the headlines are all about the housing turnaround, there are still many families who are still affected by unemployment and the housing crash. The drought is also having an effect on our agricultural community, so Keep Your Home continues to be an invaluable resource. So that concludes my remarks. Our legislative director is Di Richardson, which most of your staff knows, but I am available should you have any questions, and I have my partner here to help me since she had this job just 6 months ago. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And are there any questions?